Nalguidan showdown here in week number 4, day number 2 of the Hearthstone Grandmasters. TJ, in about 1 or 2 matches, guess what will be officially done for Hearthstone Grandmasters?
The first round robin?
The first half of the entire season will be officially at the midway point.
I didn't even think that would happen, Dan.
Because the world would end before we get to the 4th week of Grandmasters?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
we
made it.
I thought the world would explode because of Specialist.
Well, I thought so too, but maybe not necessarily for the reasons that you thought, or maybe the format related to Hearthstone.
I've been pleasantly surprised by the format, to be honest. I thought that...
You introduced the format!
I did introduce the format in the video.
All right.
Actually, no, there's no proof. Nobody has any video evidence that that was me.
And that's all the rules for Specialist.
I don't know. I've never said those words in my life. But I thought the world would explode because of the conflicting opinions on it. Because there were some people that didn't like Conquest, were excited for something new, and said this format has a lot of like room to grow, and there's a lot of people that hated it. And I thought that their opinions would collide, and they would fight each other until the world would end. But it seems like the more I watch it, the more the choices seem to make the difference. Like the difference in secondary and tertiary decks in games 2 and 3 can have made or broken players' records, as we're now up to the halfway point in the season.
Yeah, I think that Specialist is still a format that people are discovering on like what the nuance is to, and I think it's still not a solved format by any means, even though everyone kind of anticipated that it would be. We're going to go into the first game here between Nalguidan and Rase. An important match here for Nalguidan to make up big ground. He just needs to win out here. If he wants to keep his playoffs hopes alive, it's very straightforward. Get the W. For Rase, he's in a 3rd place uncontested spot. A win here can move him up even further up the standings.
Yeah, and we're going to be seeing the Burgle Rogue versus the Bomb Warrior, and I honestly, the more I watch this matchup, the more I think that it's Rogue favored. And to be honest, I even thought that it was Rogue favored from the get-go, just because this is not the old tempo Rogue where the Warrior can stop the aggression and they're forced to draw Myras to get the last bits of damage. This is a very value-centric Rogue that can just overwhelm you. And you're forced to kind of be in this position where you're trying to stop their pressure, but their pressure comes in like waves, and they have so many waves of pressure that sometimes it just feels impossible to keep up.
Hey, that's why I call it Water Rogue, because the waves
of pressure, Dan.
Pressure.
Oh my goodness, Hunter Ace, a genius once again.
Once again. I didn't realize that once you become a genius, you lose that status, and you just become it again.
Yeah, no, it's true. You have to earn. You have to keep earning it again and again and again.
So he's a 3-star genius.
Yeah, I mean, people throw around the term genius all willy-nilly nowadays.
Yeah. But once in a while.
Oh my God! You got nachos for dinner? You're a genius.
It's true. I am a genius. How'd you know what I had for dinner last night? You know why I did have nachos? Because I went to A-Bar's birthday. TJ, at least I show up.
I was honest.
I was there for A-Bar's birthday.
So for those of you who don't
Happy
know,
birthday, A-Bar.
A-Bar is one of our producers on the show. He does our stats packet each week. Very smart guy, very great Hearthstone player. You may recognize him from the 2016 America's Championship. Summer, yeah. And
he bombed out in the top 8 and said, "Can I have a job?"
And we said yes.
Yeah, we're like, sure.
Yeah, but he's also probably the best player on our entire production team.
That's Gallon right now.
Okay, Gallon right now, but yes.
He's a little better. You know, placing top 10 in America's points last year. Yeah, pretty good.
Pretty good,
I'd say.
But A-Bar's birthday party was yesterday, and I told him straight up. I said there is roughly a 2% chance that I'll go. He knows me very well. I don't go out. I also live very far away, and unfortunately, I'm sorry, A-Bar, but I choose my 10-month-old son.
TJ, excuses are like pre-sticks.
That's not
everyone has one, but they all stink.
I don't think that's
you like that?
I don't think that's an excuse.
All right. right. Well, okay.
I'm sorry, Abar. Yesterday, out of everybody celebrating their birthday in the entire world, yours was my favorite.
Oh, man.
I hope that consoles you.
Well, it's okay. Me and A-Bar had a great time at the Bruise Brothers yesterday.
Did you eat nachos for real?
Well, they ordered food, but I had to go because I had...
Oh, yeah. Excuses are like priest decks.
TJ!
Everybody has one.
Listen, I may
and they
not be
all
on time.
stink.
I may not be fully beautified by the power of cosmetics, but at least I show up. I'm present. Speaking of showing up, there's Spirit of the Shark going to finally make an appearance on the board. Let's talk a little bit about Hearthstone, and there's a game in front of us here instead of being petty on Rock Games.
But that's my favorite thing to do.
Well, actually, if I could I do really want to badly step aside and talk about another tangent here about Spirit of the Shark. But I will digress for a bit here. Rase needs to find a way to get tempo back. Part of the air quote disadvantage of playing the Shark is that it's a setup turn. You know, it's like ramping. Think of it as the wild growth. Think of it as you know, equipping the weapon type scenario. It's like there's nothing on the board immediately, but it's what happens afterwards, which has big, powerful development. So for Race's perspective, this is the last turn that he has before the Dynamax to shut down the Shark. What can he do instead? Does he set up the weapon, or does he play a minion on the board? And these are all questions that are going to be really important because, like you said, DJ, I feel like this matchup is on a nice edge where it could easily be a blowout one way or the other. Warrior can just completely dunk the Rogue, or Rogue will go behind the back for the alley-oop 360. I watched a lot of basketball yesterday, TJ.
I know, I saw your tweet.
It is a travesty. I actually posted a meme a while ago when Rise of Shadows first came out, where it's like it's like the meme from Predator, where Arnold and Dylan were like doing this epic handshake, where they're just flexing their biceps, which are like giant pythons.
You and Admirable have showed me that clip like 15 times.
It's awesome, and if I was allowed to swear on broadcast, I would emulate it right now. But it was great because Hearthstone fans and NBA fans have one thing in common, which is that we hate the Warriors.
One, I was waiting for that joke, and two, I was waiting for the day that you tweeted out the phrase, "At least lick your ball." I wasn't expecting it to be a basketball reference, but I was satisfied nonetheless.
It was great. And yesterday, it was a disgraceful showing of Warrior fans that with a minute and a half left, and they decided to leave the arena, which might be the last game in Oracle Arena because, of course, they're going to be moving. I just felt like embarrassed to call themselves basketball.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a freaking NBA Finals.
It'd be like if you watched the full match of a Warrior versus Quest Hunter.
Okay.
And you left 1 minute before the game ended.
Yeah, it's very unsatisfying. It's like if you did the showdown in Dalaran, and right before they pull off their epic PvE content that they're building up with all of their treasures that they selected and all the passives and all the buckets that they selected, and then you switch to another streamer's POV. It'd be like that.
What a travesty.
All right, okay, before
people
I actually get fired.
Did I tune in to Grandmasters, or did I tune in to TJ Talkstone, TJ's and Dan's podcast?
Look, I miss Talkstone. Okay, back to the game. Rase shutting down the Shark, and this is actually one of, to be quite fair, and this actually goes back to the tangent I wanted to talk about before. There are criticisms of playing Spirit of the Shark. If you look at the Vicious Syndicate report, as well as a few other rogue experts, I know Jay Alexander's very outspoken, they think Shark is not very good. And they think that the reason why is because it's too much setup for what little payoff, especially if you play it on curve and you don't get to capitalize by playing anything beyond just a Hedge Clan Burglar and a Lackey. And to which I argue that, like, yes, in those scenarios it's not that great, but sometimes you play a Gadsden Auctioneer and it draws you 1 or 2 cards. And it's like, are you going to say Gadsden Auctioneer is like not important to the deck? It's fundamental to how the deck is constructed. This rogue deck, because it has Shark, is given options at every juncture of the game to either play very tempo-oriented or very value-oriented, and it gives it that flexibility. As a result, the entire identity of the deck shifts, So it's not just a linear, I need to kill them by turn 7 rogue, and if I don't, have a backup with like Leroy Shadow Step in the late game, because that's what the Tempo rogue was in the past. They're evaluating a different type of rogue than it should be, and they're trying to make a circle fit into a square peg. All right, now you can go back.
I hope you like my invention.
I actually have even more points to expand on your point. There is
my perspective. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree in a sense. I agree to a certain extent. I do think there's a difference between drawing 2 cards that you put in your deck and getting 2 randomly generated spells. But I honestly don't think it matters too much because it kind of puts your opponent in a weird spot. With getting value off of Blink Fox and Henchclan Burglar, you're getting pretty much anything. There's no range of things that you can reasonably play around as like the warrior in this instance against the rogue, which means that you're just going to operate on the same game plan that you would if those cards weren't there, because it's too much effort to try and play around it. And in that sense, it doesn't give the rogue an advantage because it doesn't change the path of the warrior's game plan. And so in that regard, I agree with you because there's no difference between drawing 2 cards from your deck and drawing 2 random cards, because you're still on the same game plan, because you're still playing around the same like breakpoints of damage and the same breakpoints of the deck. So yes, in a very long-winded rebuttal to your statement, my final point is that I agree.
All right. Well, I totally understand that, Mary. And again, I'm only presenting part of the argument. I mean, there's a lot more nuanced discussion for a lot of data, a lot of subjective opinion, even ladder results versus tournament results. We can go on back and forth. But the bottom line is, Nalguidan has a ton of value in his hand, and if he can withstand bomb pressure from coming out from Rase, he should be able to outlast him. I mean, just look at the card-for-card resources. Nalguidan has Hearthstone Grandmasters, Sea Giants, has a bunch of other like small little removal tricks they can use to eliminate this, and he can even pick up more value off of things like the Ethereal Lackey, which, I mean, people could argue is the true core of the deck. It's like, oh, you know, it's not the random card generation that's good, it's the lackeys that are the backbone. And I don't disagree. I'm just saying that I think people may be too quick to judge the power of like a Shark's win rate, because I also think that's one of the hardest cards to use in the deck. I think it's a very high skill cap, along with Pogo Ring.
It's not often, like, if you look at aggregate statistics, a very high win rate card in many matchups. Like, it's still just traditional rogue cards that are the highest win rate. Like Evil Mystery, Edward Bank, Backstab,
right?
SI and Action matchups, Vendetta.
Ooh, oh, that hurts. That hurts a lot. 5 health on the board, 2 Dynamax in the hand. And
that was also a reasonable amount of resources used from Nalguidan to deal with a single card.
The Boombots.
From Rase. And now it's answered very easily. Rase was just looking for an opportunity to use Dynamatic. This is the perfect one. But Nalguidan does have Ethereal Lackey plus High Spirit and Togwaggle.
Right.
But the rest of his hand is pretty much damage. And a Healing Touch, but not super relevant. Maybe it'll give him a little extra time against the bomb plan. There's only 2 bombs in his deck, though, so it's not under too much pressure.
Right, and we also know that if Rase didn't have it, he'd most likely be able to clear in other ways as well, like a 4 damage Whirlwind across the board. Like, let's say the Sea Giant had 4 health instead. Would have been perfectly fine. Daring Escape is fairly interesting, given that he does have a lot of battle cries. Wanted is just overcosted. There's a great thread of people like theory crafting what would buffs look like and which would, and to compensate for preparation being now 2 mana discount, wanted to go down to 3. Wanted just cost too much mana, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
But this is what's cool. You can Daring Escape the High Spirit and Togwaggle right back if you so desire. If you feel like you want to have that 5/5 on board, go for it. This is actually one of the situations where rogues often can lose, though, because if you play too much on the value, the warrior's is going to get ahead. Remember, you have bombs in your deck. Nalguidan might feel like he's like safe at 19, but we know that there's like a 50% chance to draw both those bombs in the next 2-3 turns, TJ, the moment you start playing for value.
Yeah, he does have to kind of look at the risk versus reward and think, does this hand beat Rase if I just leave a 5/5 on board? I think the 5/5 is like too easy to remove. Like just a shield slam deals with it, and he still pushes that 3 anyway. So if you assume that he's just going to push the 3 anyway, you might as well take the extra value.
I don't disagree.
It just gives Rase like a free turn of development. He doesn't have to have removal.
Yeah. That being said, the Wondrous Wand is Nalguidan's tempo ticket back into this game. He's drawn both of his Shadow Steps, so there's less likelihood that he hits just completely dead cards, or not completely dead cards, but like waste, air quotes, the Wondrous Wand effect. I do think that Nalguidan needs to be mindful of how much life he takes, or damage he takes.
Yeah, well, healing touch. Rase winces at that. All right, waggle.
Ooh, that does not work the way you want to.
Oh, it does.
Okay.
How convenient.
Well, all right, so whenever you play a draw 3 cards type scenario and discount them, it triggers on the bomb. The bomb activates and deals 5 damage, but the next card you draw will cost full mana.
Yeah.
In this case, backstab costs 0 anyways. So do not be mistaken. That is not a glitch.
Sometimes it works in your favor. For instance, if you play Book of Specters and you draw a bomb, and your next card is a spell, you'll keep the spell. It won't be discarded because the bomb was technically the card that was drawn from the Book of Specters, and the spell that you drew afterwards was technically drawn from the bomb.
Right.
So it doesn't count. So it works in your favor sometimes.
Yeah. Dude, Rogue is nuts. Just look at what Nalguidan's able to set up. And small things like the healing touch end up having massive implications, right? You don't really think healing touch like to be of high impact, but Nalguidan could be at 8 life, right? And then Rase is like, oh, I'll just Wrench Caliber your face. Instead, he has the liberty of utilizing his health as a resource, which is one of Rogue's best attributes as a class. It can really trade health for tempo really effectively early on in the game, and then leverage that tempo to push for game-ending damage. And now, in Race's perspective, clearly the Harrison wants to go down its waggle pig. It's all about filling in the details afterwards. Do we go for a Wrench Caliber? But if you Wrench Caliber, are you swinging face? Do you perhaps go for Dynamatic? But Dynamatic and Harrison do not exactly work well together. At least not at first.
And then if you have the option to bounce back a minion, do you choose to bounce back a specific one, or do you make your follow-up play based on the information it gained from the bounce back?
I mean, I feel like Nalguidan already has all the lackey he ever wants. So bouncing back to Evil Miscreant, like at this point, you're not going to outvalue the run. I feel like you're going to try to out-tempo them or just like out-damage them, race them to the finish. Yeah. Race them to the finish. It's in your name.
From nothing.
Did we ever ask Rase how he got his name?
Well, Race with an S is not necessarily the same as Race with a C. Like raise, it could be like a raise, like destroy. Like if you raise buildings. Shout out to the StarCraft because that's where I learned it when I was like 10 years old. How many buildings you raised?
We're actually sharing a studio with StarCraft WCS.
Yeah, they're right. Kevin Van der Kooi, Nathanius. Why did I full name Rotterdam?
How dare you full name him? Yeah, they're like 30 feet away right now.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I'm a big fan of how like WCS is continuing to shape up. Oh man,
Ooh.
2 Illidan's. Speaking about cards that the fans would love to have being buffed. But I mean, these 2 Flames of Azeroth are very threatening in its own right. Yeah. Rase has 9 power showing.
He could even just like go all face here, Warpath. He'd gain 6 armor. And he pushed 6 damage with just his minions. He can't fit in anything else. Like he wouldn't be able to fit in Omega Summon. He had to go for the full. There's a chance he could go for like a medium play, but I don't think he wants to trade to these minions. I think he wants to go upstairs. And
yeah,
Nalguidan does have double Life Drinker to try and combat this.
Maybe that does make me want to go to Mega Summon to magnetize to try to push that damage. If I can find a way to magnetize a minion and get my opponent down to 5, I think I might go for it because no matter what you can say, TJ, you won't convince me that the Rogue will get outvalued in this situation. High Spirit Dog Woggle Shadow Steps again.
Yeah.
I just think you're not going to win the long term, so try and find a way to maximize your win percentage in the short term.
Yeah. Oh, Brawl.
Rase feels otherwise. I think he feels like he can keep this game going.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's not about outvaluing him until the very end. It's about outvaluing him until you piece together enough damage to win the game.
That's fair. No, it's totally fair.
And he's getting close to that. He has Warpath to deal with one more. He basically needs to find like just one more bomb card, gives him the consistency that he may need to end. And Nalguidan can go up to 16, but after that, outside of Blink Fox giving him some type of armor card.
Yeah, I mean, Rase doesn't. Rase does have to be mindful of Ziliax as well. Not all rogue decks run Ziliax, but it's just very useful neutral healing. Nalguidan can deal with the mechs fairly easily here. Picks up another Cobalt Lackey. That's totally cool.
Yeah, can even play Hearthstone and Togwaggle, a treasure and a Cobalt Lackey.
Yep. Discover another couple legendaries. Wondrous Ron his hand is too full, so I think the crown here is just universally better, assuming that he's able to get decent legendaries. Plus Warpath is used. Oh, sorry, Brawl was used.
Gruul.
2 Gruuls.
Woo!
Double Gruul. That's double pay.
That's kind of why I like the Warpath there last turn instead.
Right.
Because you know that the Hearthstone and Togwaggle's in hand, and you know that Nalguidan's probably not going to pick Wondrous Wand because he has enough stuff in his hand, and he doesn't want to draw deeper into his deck.
That's fair.
So if you see a crown and you can Warpath it, and you know there's another Togwaggle, I feel like oftentimes it's better to just use the Warpath while you can, because now it's pretty much dead.
Well, it's not dead.
It's not dead, but I mean...
But it's unlikely that he's going to be able to use it to effectively clear everything this turn. So, yeah, seems like Rase instead going for the bomb plans. Yeah, he's going to swing with the weapon.
With the swing, there will be 5 bombs to Nalguidan's deck, adding 15 cards. And he's at 7, so he can take 2 more bomb hits, 3 with double life trigger. There's a chance he dies this turn. All right, no bomb.
Oh my gosh! Instead though, Nalguidan has an opportunity to rebound to a life total that's very difficult for Rase to finish the game.
Yeah.
From nothing.
Daring escape.
Oh, Togwaggle scheme though.
It's true. Togwaggle scheme is good, and there's also a case for Vendetta as well for tempo. But the reason why I looked at Daring Escape is because it's just life gain opportunity.
It is life gain opportunity, but in a way, so is Togwaggle scheme. Because not only can you Togwaggle scheme a card that gains life, it also shuffles cards into your deck to reduce the chance that you draw a bomb. Though it is not very large right now, and he wants to play life gain right now.
Right.
So he would shuffle like what, 1 Ziliax? So he is going to go with Daring Escape.
I mean, I just like Ziliax plus Cold Blood here. So effective to just gain a bunch of life. Life Drinker here is okay too, I guess.
And Daring Escape. The Life Drinker does...
Oh, it dies.
It dies. Because it's the last minion played.
Yeah. Order does actually melt, and he's also going to burn another card here. But
Dr. Boom's scheme! What?
This is another thing too that we didn't.
And he filled up his hand!
Yeah, that's another thing we didn't talk about, which is that holding 10 cards offsets the bomb damage. Dr. Boom's scheme? I mean, Nalguidan is gaining more life than the warrior this game. He's got Healing Touch, Life Drinkers, Ziliax, and now that I see Nalguidan was going for the full hand strategy, it makes a lot more sense why he didn't just immediately fight for the tempo with Ziliax. And
yeah.
He would have just walked into a Warpath.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a tough one to burn.
Yeah, how many times did Nalguidan have an opportunity to go for a big Van Cleave if he had it in his hand? It's just one of those really important things. And you guys all saw it earlier today, right? Like, how many times did we see Edwin versus all the warriors?
Yeah.
In Grandmasters, highlighted by, of course, the Surrender Flurry match. So Nalguidan does not need more value. I think at this point he needs more tempo. He's so far ahead in the resources.
Probably the turn for the Ziliax Cold Blood, and it's a matter of what do you do after. You can go for Evil Miscreant. If he wants to fill up his hand, he would just go Evil Miscreant and then just attack with Ziliax. He can go Ethereal Lackey.
Yeah, Theorlaki, Evil Cable Rat, all of those are applicable. I personally like the life gain.
Yeah.
Go up to 16.
Still 5 bombs in the deck, though. So even with that Life Drinker, if Rase can get rid of the Ziliax like with Warpath without damaging.
And also the Goblin Bomb.
Ah, the Goblin Bomb.
It's going to deal 2 damage.
However, Dr. Boom's scheme is getting big. 3 armor now.
Getting big. 4 mana, gain 3 armor?
It's
getting big?
Dan, the great thing about the scheme cards, as we've seen in almost every single break that we've taken, is that they upgrade each turn.
All I can remember...
So it's 3 armor now, but after next turn, it'll be 4. And then the turn after that, 5.
I don't know what I was thinking. It should be obvious. That's what I hear every single break.
Dan, you are a genius.
Thank you. I was telling you that yesterday, how the Japanese feel like they just say everything so epic.
One at a time.
Ichinichi Itotsu, or something, whatever it is that they call it. I don't know Japanese.
You practiced it so much yesterday. Where did it go?
I don't know what it is. The thing is, there's no one-to-one translation because it's an idiom. Like, there's no one-to-one translation. Another crown opportunity here for Nalguidan. Another Shadow Step. Taz Noswhiskerer, but he doesn't have Tagwaggle's Scheme in his deck. Never mind. Taz Noswhiskerer, a card with the Pogo Rogue, which I was playing with it. Just like, this just feels silly because with Tack, what you do is if you shuffle 10 copies of Pogo Hoppers into your deck, you get 10 copies in your hand. It's not like a one shot. It's not an Augmented Elec where it's like, oh, here's an additional copy in your hand.
No.
You get 1 for each that you shuffle.
Yep.
So Lab Recruiter plus Tack Noswhiskerer, absolutely filthy. Now, Rase has to brawl this because he cannot handle this much pressure, but actually doesn't have to brawl it right now. He could let his opponent develop a little bit more. He could also Boom Reaver, but there's a handful of misses in this deck.
Also, the Boom Reaver, since he doesn't have Dr. Boom Mad Genius online, doesn't have Rush itself. So, on average, what is he pulling out, like a 3/3? I don't even know. I don't even know what minions he has left in his deck. He does have Ziliax.
Yeah, he has a Ziliax, he has a Town Crier, he has a Militia Commander, he has an Omega Devastator. So reasonable stuff, but nothing that's going to swing this board the way he wants it to be. In fact, the Boom Reaver might just be, in Race's mind, a distraction. Because by presenting that much stats on the board, Nalguidan might feel like he has to trade and like hedge a little bit against the bomb damage.
Yeah.
So the Boom Reaver, yeah, not bad. In theory, should help abate some of this pressure.
Yeah. And I think if you're Rase, you want to push this 3 damage to face.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like
5 plus 12 is 17.
you could die this turn. Still 4 bombs left after this one.
So there's 17 damage. Leroy's Shadow Step is another 12, so 12 plus 17 is 29. His opponent's at 39, so he needs to make up 10 more damage. He also has the ability to even just start digging first with the Evil Cable Rat and try to utilize his mana that way.
Yeah.
One way or another, this board's just going down. He cannot afford to let a minion live here.
You could also try and go for another Togwag.
Yes, you are correct. But he doesn't have enough mana to play the treasure immediately.
And I honestly think this Shadow Step wants to be on Leroy and or Life Drinker.
Yeah, Life Drinker gains 6 is actually pretty huge. This Witchy Lackey has some big potential here, especially if he uses it on the Taz. And Royal Guard.
4 armor, Dan.
Woo! 4 armor might not seem like a lot. It's just that it gives Nalguidan the ability to Life Drinker next turn and exit another breakpoint. 2 minions of these are 1/1s. There's an average 3/3, and then there's some big stuff. And the average result ends up happening here for Nalguidan.
Yeah, and I think you're just playing the Omega Devastator because you want something on board. Nalguidan still has the potential of dying here. 4 bombs left in the deck out of 10 cards.
Oh, gosh. Really?
Oh! And, you know, that's a tough game to call because
I
feel like
think Rogue was going to get outvalued.
I didn't think so.
And it really wasn't, to be honest, either. It was pretty even on the resources.
Yeah.
Which is pretty amazing to think about, that Warrior did it without Dr. Boom. But more importantly, it's like, I feel like there was so many decision points in that game which could have created an entire different tree of results.
Yeah.
So I do understand Nalguidan's logic, and we were kind of explaining how he was thinking, like, okay, like, take it slow, like, keep these resources. But there were a couple turns where it was like he was like really far extended to the board, and then Rase would be able to like just have like the good brawl or the good warpath and whatnot. And each of those cards, like each brawl, each warpath, like beat 3 to 5 cards in Nalguidan's hand.
Yeah, it was kind of rough, and there's a lot of decisions in that game, right? He had Nalguidan had the potential to go for even more life gain than he did.
Yes.
Even with things like not filling up his hand the turn that he did, which honestly didn't pay off but could have paid off. And going for Daring Escape on like double Life Drinkers. Could have used the Shadow Steps that he got on Life Drinkers or Ziliacs.
Or it could have just kept the full hand line, right? Just develop a little bit.
Just enough.
Because his hands brawls and warpath, so if he just like discovers just a couple of legendary minions instead of going really wide on the board, it's one of those things where he could have stuck to a completely different line and have inevitability because Warrior's out of resources, and then force Warrior to brawl like a 3 minion board instead of like a 6 minion board, which is obviously a much better result.
But then there's the other argument, which is Rase kind of wins an inevitability if Nalguidan takes it too slow, because he has Archivist Elysiana. So unless he does discover a Togwaggle Scheme, but he had the option to discover a Togwaggle Scheme.
Sort of. Time was on his side though. Like if he's holding 10 cards, playing 1 card turn, he has Dr. Boom's Scheme to gain armor to offset some of that damage. I don't know. I feel like that's a game that was extremely fascinating, and I would love to hear more Rogue experts discuss and even debate about the possible lines, because if you're holding 10 cards and Warrior's holding 3 or 4, it feels like that's exactly where the Rogue wants to be in the late game.
Yeah.
Even if it has 4 or 5 bombs shuffled in, especially if you have late game life gain opportunities. Not to mention that, for example, like Nalguidan had that life drinker that died, and they also had life drinker in the hand. So it's like all these like different small things to help give the game an extra turn, which might make all the difference.
And we're already at an interesting point in this game because Nalguidan had Togwaggle Scheme and Edwin.
And he threw it away.
Now, they don't go well together. You don't want to shuffle Edwin's in. But Togwaggle Scheme is Nalguidan pitched.
He's on a tertiary deck, by
Yeah, he's on his tertiary deck, which adds 2 Togwaggle Scheme, and Amish Engineer, Brawl the Shark, and Harrison Jones. It takes out Eviscerate, Waggle Pigs, and Sea Giants. He has the 2 schemes, and we've talked to players who have been playing this version of the Rogue deck, and they said, Togwaggle Scheme's great against Warrior, but you have to have it early.
Right.
Keeping it in your mulligan's a great chance to have it early, but he might be worried about falling behind on tempo too far
This guy's
if he tries to mulligan for that. But Edwin is the big one. Edwin just, even not on the coin, is still one of the highest win rate cards in any matchup.
I would keep one or the other.
Yes.
Not both in that opening hand, and I think Edwin has a much higher win rate than Togwaggle Scheme, in my perspective. But the reason why is because Togwaggle Scheme is a potential for big explosive turns late game, versus Edwin Van Cleave is sometimes what decides the game early on. And as the saying goes, 2 in the hand is worth 1 in the bush, TJ. It's a Japanese phrase.
Is it?
No.
I don't even know the origins of that phrase. And frankly, I don't understand it.
It does sound like one that would originate in like old colonial
I think it's a
times.
Hunting phrase.
Possibly, yeah. It does make sense.
5
health on the board, Dynamatic coming down.
Yeah. Rase did also switch. You may notice a couple differences. He took out double Omega Assembly, an Augmented Elec, an Omega Devastator, and Archivist Elysiana to include 1 extra Eternium Rover, a Weapons Project, Acolyte of Pain Spellbreaker, and Darius Crowley. Kind of an interesting
I like it.
I kind of like it, but also if you assume that Nalguidan's going to switch to his tertiary deck, which is pretty likely, I honestly like the first list better, but...
So this is already an interesting choice here from Nalguidan to go for a Ziliax in response. Perhaps he's afraid of Rase going Ziliax right back. Because if he left the Dynamatic on the board, let's say he played Grawl the Shark. I thought Grawl was something that was a really powerful option. But if he played Grawl and his opponent Ziliax, he would have been able to just Ziliax it right back and would have been totally fine.
Yeah.
Now he doesn't have that reactive ability, and he would have to spend a full mana Vendetta to clear it, and that's just not what the Rogue wants to be doing. The Grawl, I felt like, was a much better proactive play, and now Nalguidan's going to sacrifice it for, well, you know, a very expensive Viscerate. So things kind of blew up a little bit in his face. And also, not to mention, Grawl the Shark improves your future plays because it pulls a minion from your deck. What if that was Edwin Van Cleef?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, Van Cleef wouldn't be that great in the hand, but what if it was Spear of the Shark, you know, and helps you pull your next card in tandem with it? Let's say he draws Evil Miscreant next turn and then has all these, like, different opportunities.
Yeah.
You never know. And that's why something that, you know, Zolay was talking about a lot this week, both in his videos and on our podcast, was just, like, talking about, like, the players try to set themselves up to have opportunities, aka to get lucky. You know, it's like, yeah, we don't know if Nalguidan's going to draw his Miscreant or a Shark or all these other, like, really important foundational tools for the deck, but you want to position yourself so that if you do, you're in the best possible position to capitalize onto it. And there it is, the Evil Miscreant. So it's like, this is all just, like, small little things where Nalguidan doesn't have the tempo and snowball that he would like to, even though he's playing, you know, the right cards, like with the Harrison on the weapon and whatnot. Sorry to go on this long tangent.
No, it's a lot of great points. And he does have the potential to fall behind in tempo. Rase doesn't have... See, that's the interesting part about Race's deck decision here. He does have a little bit more options for tempo. He had an extra one-drop. Acolyted Pain, which gives him more options. Darius Crowley, which we saw was a great tempo tool.
Right.
Allowed him to answer Ziliax and force Nalguidan to have essentially a dead turn in order to remove it.
Right. And I mean, to Nalguidan's credit, right, Rase hasn't been able to develop anything because Nalguidan's been very reactive.
Yeah.
And so he's stopping Rase from being able to potentially snowball on Nalguidan. But the disadvantage of that setup is that he doesn't give himself the opportunity to snowball on the Warrior. And I feel like if you ask one way or the other, like, what's the most important thing? Is it, but what's more important? Is it that the Rogue snowballs on the Warrior snowballs on the Rogue? It's very much the Rogue position, like, because the deck wants to get that early game lead. At best right now, it's just even back and forth.
This, however, a little bit of a difficult turn because if Rase wanted to remove the Grawl the Shark on the board, he'd have to expend Militia Commander and then just Armor Up, and that's his whole turn. And he knows that Nalguidan's drawing an additional resource, so he's spending a whole turn to remove something that draws him a card. So it looks like Rase wants to go for something a little bit different and try and cycle through his deck and then maybe Militia Commander down.
Yeah, and this is actually the power of the Grawl, because the Grawl acts, you know, I like making comparisons to cards that we universally know was just very good. So Grawl feels very similar to Azure Drake. You're just drawing a card from your deck when it dies, obviously. It's a different setup, but abstractly, 5 mana, 5/5, help you draw a little bit card from your deck, help you set up some board tempo, gives you different versatile plays based off of what ends up happening.
Yeah.
That's why I thought it was going to be a really powerful card just universally in Rogue. But then, you know, I realized that it just didn't really fit in a lot of the current existing archetypes. But it's a good card. It's a good card!
Yes, it is, Dan. Yes, it is. Spear of the Shark picked up for Nalguidan.
Yep, that's an easy kill on the Harrison with the Cobalt Lackey if he wants to go for it. No Shark this turn.
Interesting.
Lay on hands.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, he can even go for a Hammer of Wrath to efficiently remove the Harrison and then also keep his board size reasonable. I think that was probably what he was thinking. Rogue is a class that likes cheaper stuff to do all these finesse plays. Big, expensive stuff doesn't really fit really well in the class. So, Shark plus Van Cleef. Now we are cooking. Rase has one more turn before all his Omega stuff comes online.
Yeah, and he doesn't even have Omega Assemblies in the deck after switching to his Tertiary, which in the late game is going to be pretty brutal.
Right.
He won the game last game without getting Dr. Boom Mad Genius, but I feel like Omega Assemblies helped a lot because it forced Nalguidan to a situation where he had to play a little bit more reactive.
Right.
Even just like the Demolisher and the Goblin Bomb. Like the Goblin Bomb gave him the 2 extra damage that he needed in the game.
That's true.
And
we were like, pay attention to that Goblin Bomb.
Yeah, Demolisher forced extra mana expenditure from Nalguidan, which didn't allow him to play Life Drinker. And so that would have put him out of range of the 2 bombs that he drew anyway also. So it's kind of... it's often, you see it in Rogue and you're like, oh man, I don't have time to wait until 10 mana to play this card. But these games, especially against value-oriented rogues, do go to 10 mana.
Yes.
Just some food for thought, Dan.
Yes. Very much food for thought. Heist Baron, Togwall.
Oh.
These are all very good options and very different paths that Nalguidan can go. He can go for the Spear of the Shark Edwin this turn. He can go for the Heist Baron Togwaggle and the Scheme.
Yeah.
They're all possibilities.
The Heist Baron Togwaggle plus Scheme is incredible. He's shuffling 6 Heist Baron Togwaggles in his deck. He's going to pick Wondrous Wand, and then he has the potential of getting 0 mana Heist Baron Togwaggles to do. Oh, he can't do it all this turn. Okay. He still has a Lackey in hand, so he can do it next turn.
Right.
But having to spend the mana on playing the Lackey didn't allow him to Scheme plus Wondrous Wand.
Right. And the Scheme, what it does is it gives Rogue these non-stop explosive tempo turns. And Rase only has so much removal. I mean, he does have the Warpath right here. Warpath would clear everything by itself. Could also fight back for a little tempo by Warpath Dynomatic.
But from this point on, Rage is going to have a lot of difficulty. He wasn't able to get a hold on the board. He only has 2 bombs in Nalguidan's deck.
Yep.
Does not have Dr. Boom Mad Genius online.
Yeah.
So pretty much every turn he's going to have to react. And it doesn't feel like Nalguidan's going to have dead turns for a while.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of why I think when you approach this matchup from the Rogue's perspective, and you have Togwaggle schemes and like even Grawl, you can afford to take it as slow as Nalguidan has. And I think that's him having strong recognition of like who is in the long term going to be in a better spot. You combine that with Race's very mediocre hand, where he doesn't have Dr. Boons. Either of the Boons. He doesn't have any early game bomb curve. Oh my goodness.
Still 5 more Togwaggles in the deck, by the way. So still 25% of his deck nearly is Heist Baron Togwaggles.
Chooses a crown and a wand.
Sure, let's do it again.
His robe and wizard hat.
How about another one?
I'm actually willing to restrain here a little bit. I mean, this Togwaggle is fine to play here from Nalguidan, but like, I think he's presenting enough of a board to even threaten lethal. The most important thing is to think about how can I go for a 2-turn. He has a 0 mana Leroy and a 0 mana SIC. It's like, these are different things where Nalguidan can just present a way to kill Rase without having to play so much into Brawl that he loses, again, his momentum.
The Brotherhood shall come.
I like this. Edwin is a 12-12. It's still extremely threatening. Your opponent has to brawl it.
Yep.
You don't need to extend with more 5/5s. Nice restraint here from Nalguidan. And now on Races, and is there any way, any alternative besides brawl? Does it look like?
Togwaggle.
Yep, so the Dynomatic cleans everything up. Oh, interesting. Wants more power and more stats on the board. Ray's starting to play for tempo. I guess he recognizes that he can't just play the removal game and take it very slow.
Yeah. Well, let's see what's in the box for the Xerox crown. Oh.
Well, Tack missed the boat on the scheme.
He's got another scheme, but probably gonna wait for this one, get it juiced up a bit, try and offset some bomb damage in the late game. I mean, Rase is at 25, which may seem healthy, but it's not, especially with how much damage Nalguidan has the potential of dealing.
Double time and double pay.
You can Witchy Lackey here and solve Evil Cable Rat to generate a Lackey for the High Spirit Togwaggle.
Yep. Now yeah, just going wider.
Dragon Roar. Wow.
Deranged Witch Doctor to restore a little bit of health. Nalguidan's Rogue is a heal clash. Changed my mind.
This guy's toast.
So using the SI reduces a little bit of burst in the hand. Oh, it's just Deranged Doctor. He didn't get his Witch's license yet.
Nope, not yet.
But the Witchy Lackey tried. So Rase has Shield Slam and he has Warpath. Could he combine Warpath and even the Dynamatic, perhaps? If he Warpaths twice and then Shield Slams.
It still doesn't even make a dent. He Warpaths twice. The 3/3s are at 1 health. Then he can try and Shield Slam something. I think his best option is to clear everything off but the Deranged Doctor.
Right. In this case, the Dynamatic doesn't clean up enough. So I think he has to go with more Warpath. I mean, Warpath does 5 damage, very similar to the Dynamatic. Yeah, he takes 3 damage.
He can clear everything off but the Taz, because he can Warpath one more time, then Shield Slam the Deranged Doctor. Leave a 6/2 on board, which is at least manageable.
How much damage is in the hand? We have Spear the Shark, Leroy, Life Kicker, that's 12 in the hand. Plus 6 is 20. Just 1 damage is 21.
There's still just value for days.
Yeah, especially because there's 2 Lackeys coming out, 2 Togwaggles coming out, Noah's Ark. Everything's coming out 2 by 2. I mean, Nalguidan's actually fairly close to lethal, believe it or not, even with 4 mana remaining. That's how sick some of these combos can get.
Probably just get a couple crowns. I don't know. I feel like you could Wonder Swan at this point as well because you only have 2 bombs in the deck, and you're at 30 with Life Trigger in hand.
Yeah, I am kind of surprised how often Nalguidan goes for the crown, but I guess it makes sense given that he doesn't want to give Warrior too much time. The only reason why I think the Wonder Swan is so good is because it keeps this never-ending wave of tempo going further and further. Like, you'll always just be threatening. Oh wait, I guess because he has this, he just gets 2 more High Spirits in his hand. Oh yeah, there's actually...
Oh, because the Taz!
Yeah, I forgot about the Taz interaction. So he keeps his hand count high. Yeah.
Yeah, more Togwaggles in the deck, so he still has 6 High Spirit Togwaggles in the deck.
And there's just not enough bombs in all of Hearthstone that can take down this never-ending treasure army.
Yeah. He could go Augmented Elic, Clockwork Goblet, and then even if Nalguidan draws every bomb in his deck in a row, he's still not dead. There'd be 4.
Yep, the Zilliax can help him clean off a little bit, but he needed the bombs, the fuses to the Dynamatic to kill off something on the board, and he killed nothing. Left the Shark, left the Taz, and now Rase stuck picking up the pieces.
Oh boy.
He doesn't have enough hand space to go for the double Togwaggle here. 2 Mechathons. Cool, 3 mana 20/20. Sounds very reasonable. In fact, I don't think Nalguidan needs to do anything else right now, but
Sure, throw in a dog waggle. Might as well.
sure.
Throw in a Leroy. Who cares?
Maybe just Cobalt in the face. He's going to restrict his hand so that way he can't draw bombs. I mean, he doesn't really need anything else from his deck right now.
Yeah. I mean, Race's hand is like all bomb cards, and there's no incentive for him to even press in.
Well, Race is also just dead.
Yes.
Like, practically on the board. There's 27 showing. He's at 28 life.
Gonna see, I want to see one of my bombs discarded.
Yeah, and now Nalguidan. Is he going to take a victory lap, or is he just going to put Race out of his misery?
Good crown.
Yeah, I would have liked to see the crown lethal. Hey, he gets there. Nalguidan cruises to a Game 2 victory. That deck, tertiary deck, very powerful. And, you know, again, all these like small little things that we're bringing up are just options and routes that you can take, which is why this rogue deck is very fun to play, in my perspective.
Yeah. And just with a couple changes to the deck, excluding Waggle Picks and Sea Giants and adding in Togwaggle Scheme, Novice Engineer, Grawl the Shark, Harrison, gives you even more options for how you want to play. Right. I mean, Nalguidan, had played like 5 Heistburn and Togwaggles that game?
At least.
5 treasures, and he still had 2 in hand at the end of that game, and still had 2 Heistburn Togwaggles in the hand at the end of that game. So his ability to go even further was still there, even if Race dealt with his next 2 pushes.
He didn't even need the second scheme. It just feels like the second scheme is there so you have draw redundancy, so it's not the last card in your deck. And also, maybe perhaps why it's important to have Togwaggle Scheme. And, you know, the fact that he threw it away plus the Edwin just shows that he was, like, valuing the early game a lot.
Yeah.
Because if Nalguidan, in his mind, if he can survive any early game snowball, he has the late game one.
Yeah.
Which, now that I see it in practice, makes a lot of sense.
It does. It makes a lot of sense, and was still able to cruise to what seemed like a pretty easy victory. And honestly, Rase, maybe after seeing how rough that matchup was, now granted he didn't draw either of his booms, and his hand was pretty mediocre. Maybe you just try and shake things up here just for the sake of changing things up, and potentially even go back to the primary list. Or even go to the secondary deck, which is a huge risk, but it is a more aggressive game plan because he has Sephorian Bombers and Karin and Barista Lynchin. I don't know. It's just when you see how badly you get beat in that game and how much Nalguidan was able to outvalue you, maybe you try and take a risk.
All right, well, we got word that they are both staying on their tertiary deck list.
Okay.
I do understand because Omega Assemblies and Archivist Elysiana feels like dead cards. And then your opponent's adding a lot. They're adding Grawl. They're adding Togwaggle Scheme. Harrison Jones also gets added to this deck list. It's just very good anti-warrior tech. Versus on Race's end, I mean, he's losing things like the Elic. He's losing an Omega Devastator, Archivist Elysiana, Omega Assembly. These are all good late game tools and one curve option. Versus adding in Spellbreaker, adding in Weapons Project, adding in Acolyte of Pain and Darius Crowley. I think those are good tools. You know, I think one thing that the deck does struggle with is card draw, and Race has been running out of cards every game.
Yeah.
So I think having that that Acolyte and not having to wait for Mega Assembly to turn 10 is one of his better options here.
Yeah, he does have a better option for aggression and tempo also, because he's less likely to have dead cards like Omega Assembly and Archivist Elysiana, and more likely to even have Acolyte of Pain or Darius Crowley, which can protect his board and present a threat that's very difficult to deal with. So,
Job's done.
I mean, there's 2 bomb cards plus Militia Commander for tempo.
Yeah.
Also has a 1-drop.
Well, this is a reasonable curve here for Race. He doesn't need Town Crier if he just has this kind of curve. And Nalguidan is taking it slow, although he does have Blake Fox and Vendetta to help win back and forth. Town Crier here is interesting because Race would be able to draw his other Militia Commander. And coining out the Clockwork Goblin does challenge Blink Fox, or even just a Tempo SI7. So he had those 2 decisions, but I think given that he already has the curve, he doesn't need Town Crier. He wants to put as much pressure on the Rogue as possible.
Yeah.
That said, this Blink Fox Vendetta setup is pretty sick. In fact, maybe Nalguidan actually doesn't want to Vendetta. Maybe he wants to Shadow Step the Blink Fox right now.
And then go for Blink Fox, Vendetta, Edwin Van Cleef next turn.
Yeah.
Blink Fox cleaves Vendetta.
I mean, he still has the well, Blink Fox cleave.
54 mana. Because the Blink Fox costs 1.
Right. Oh my gosh, the edge
Woo!
would have been. It's still good in this position. Like, it's still very good. I mean, all it is that is Nalguidan playing more tempo instead of greed oriented, and I'm a greedy player.
He could value trade over the Eternium Rover, backstab plus hit the Clockwork Goblin, Shadow Step Blink Fox, and then play Edwin Van Cleef.
Yes. And Van Cleef is going to be a big boy.
What, 10-10?
Like, if he wants to Shadow Step again, he can, but I think he probably just ends up saving the Shadow Step. Here's like, yeah, this is definitely something that he has to foresee how the next couple turns. Oh, he's going for the big Edwin. 10-10 is a very big.
I think it's 12-12 now. Oh, it is still. It's. Well,
Well,
Nalguidan plays no minions next turn. Rase has a 2-turn kill with.
well,
Militia Commander Dynamic.
he has a second Militia Commander.
Ah, yeah, you're right. You're right.
So he has to rush into here and then Town Crier rush again, but he's giving Nalguidan full development turn.
Does have stabilization with Ziliax.
Right.
Life gain with shield block, but so many resources used to deal with this Edwin Van Cleef. I guess you can say that Nalguidan used a lot of resources too, but because his resources were Shadow Step, he's essentially gaining those back because the card that he's Shadow Stepping replaces itself with another card. Granted, it's a warrior card, which not always useful, like this Cleave, which may be difficult to use. But Security Rover, recently buffed from 5 health to 6 health, is very difficult, especially if you place it on a board that Rase wants to Warpath.
What now?
Yeah, I think he's on the Militia Commander defense plan. And Nalguidan should try to set up the best possible board to support this Van Cleef. I think we start things off with the Blink Fox. Interesting that he's choosing the more expensive one. I guess he's saving the cheap one in case he wants to use it with the Shark. Okay, so this is Nalguidan's hedge against Brawl. Because coming up on 5, he wants to decrease the chances that Brawl hits like things like Cable Rat. The Darius Crowley here is actually a pretty decent pickup here for Rase as well.
Oh yeah,
turns.
he did have that 4th rush minion in the deck, you're right. If he hadn't picked that up, it was a 50-50 to pick up second Militia Commander. That's why Rase went into tank last turn and kind of tried to figure out what was his best odds.
Nalguidan picks up a couple Cable Rats. Now the tempo is slowing down. Security over at 2-6 is just annoying.
Yep, like the face attack here because it kind of forces Rase into this awkward position where he wants to trade off.
Yeah, it's awkward.
Minions on the board.
But he can actually position himself in a really interesting spot where like Darius will now be at 6 attack if it overtrades into the value trades rather into the Blink Fox, and then Security Rover doesn't have a good trade target.
So you could trade in the Town Crier first to the Blink Fox and then Darius Crowley.
Nalguidan has counterplay, of course, because of things like improve morale. In fact, you could use it both ways. You could use it offensively or defensively.
Yeah, he could hit the Eternium Rover to the 2-3. I mean, that in itself is both offensive and defensive.
The enemy! Defend Gilneas!
So this becomes a 6-3. Nalguidan pick up the bomb. Funny thing about Cleave is that you're not allowed to play it if there's only one minion, one or less minions on the board. Rampage.
Oh.
You can buff that Eternium Rover to the skies.
Oh, you can approve morale your own Eternium Rover and buff it. Oh my.
Yes. Absolutely.
And you even get a lackey out of it all.
Now the question becomes for Nalguidan is, I played around Brawl before. If he brawls me, I have lackeys. And that's it. How far do I go in the tank here? Is he traded?
Rase's face.
He is just baffled.
Oh man. Well, he can Goblin Lackey the 2/3 trade over. But it doesn't really help too much against Brawl because he's expending the Goblin Lackey. But he's pushing a lot, and he's starting to get close to just closing out the game with how much damage he has. He's going to push 6 this turn, re-dagger. And it's very difficult to remove the Security Rover because Dynamatic doesn't even hit it. He's still a few turns off from like Dynamatic Ziliax, which still wouldn't kill it.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like about the trade is that it's a mech, which makes Dynamatic and whatnot like better. If you trade the Blink Fox, he would have lost the damage, but the security guard doesn't get hit by the Dynamatic.
Yeah.
But that's just a really small minor detail
What
in the grand scheme of things, because it seems like Nalguidan's trying to close it out. However, it could become a big detail if Nalguidan wishes he had the 2/3 stick around for a little bit longer. And now we're starting to see the security rover getting 1 health buff being a pretty big difference maker. It would be at a 5/7 if it didn't have that extra health buff.
I wonder.
And Rase could shield block, armor up, shield slam. So having that 1 extra stat point makes a difference. It's basically a different card.
Light the fuses!
Best option here for Rase. It's not a good one. That's the last bomb in Nalguidan's deck.
5, 6, 8. The lackeys can generate 4 damage. That'd be 12.
Yeah.
So he'd be 1 damage off lethal, even if the ideal lackeys came off for direct damage. But Nalguidan also has the opportunity to pick up spells with the Evil Cable Red. But it would be too expensive. He doesn't have enough mana to do everything. And then Rase would be on a brawl to almost win the game, actually. This is not over by any means.
No, not at all.
In fact, another thing that he could pick up is Dr. Boon Mad Genius. And that would give him some extra stall and potential way to climb back here. Speaking of which, did Rase put Dr. Boon Bad Genius in his deck? Because he still hasn't drawn it.
He still hasn't drawn it in any of the games.
Either Boons.
No, he drew
Blastmaster.
Blastmaster Boom in game 1.
You're right. Nalguidan's like, okay, I do not want to just get wrecked by a brawl. Still playing around it. Knows that he sets up a 2-turn lethal if Rase doesn't gain any life. Rase can gain life.
Yeah, he can go for like Eternium over Ziliax, which is actually pretty tough to deal with. The problem is it just gets traded over by Eternium over, but if that's the case, it would gain 6 extra life. And this turn, he could gain 4 life. Plus an armor up, so 6. So 13, 17, I suppose.
It's moments like this where you really wish you put 1 copy of Execute into your deck.
Yeah, I know.
Precision.
Nalguidan, though, is running out of resources.
Yes, but the moment he picks up a Shark, the moment he picks up a Togwoggle,
Vendetta protects the life total of the security rover, but also gains Rase more life. Goblin Lackey not great here.
yep, I think he wants probably another Cable Rat to go out. Another Goblin Lackey. Double time, double pay. I wonder if I'm Nalguidan, do I want to use Vendetta or do I just want to trade to this 5/8?
It feels like
4/5.
it feels like you just want to trade. You're still not super vulnerable to Warpath. It would be at 4 health. He could Warpath 4 times and kill it, but
Yeah.
you'd be left with a couple of 2-3s.
I think you net a little bit more damage this way because he's gaining 8, but you deal 5 versus you trade in and you just gain the raw 6.
Yeah, true.
So you net more damage, but you also take more damage yourself.
What was
Is that a mad genius?
Mad genius!
At 1 armor means he gains 7. He's at 8.
Oh
He can shield
my.
slam. That is a huge draw. Now, given he could have shield block, armor up, shield slam anyways, but you can't discount the fact that the Mad Genius gives Rase an actual game plan instead of, holy crap, I can't do anything. Is he still actually going to go for the shield block, shield slam here? Another thing I like about Dr. B Mad Genius is that you get the mana usage out of the way. Although you don't get the hero power. I guess that's probably something he's thinking about. Like, if he shield blocks and does all this stuff, maybe next turn he can Mad Genius and then hero power immediately.
Oh, I love that fuse.
Ooh.
Interesting. So if he goes up to 15, he can most likely still go for shield block, shield slam next turn. Rase is at 30, full life. Bench Clan Björgular. We might have some European viewers out there.
There's no J.
It's
Björgular all over the place.
it's silent, obviously.
Dan. Always pandering to the Scandinavian audience.
I like to think that I'm all things to all people, TJ. All right, so shield block, because you don't want to kaboom first, you want to kaboom afterwards. Shield slam. Acolyte plus Warpath is also a big pickup. Rase is finally starting to get the draws that he's looking for, because it feels like he did have that early game curve, but Nalguidan was putting on a lot of pressure. And remember, he started off this game with a 10-10 Van Cleave, and it still looks like Rase is going to be able to outlast him. But that it's only an impression. Nalguidan can have a couple of fiery draws here. The High Spear and Togwalk was one of them. It's not a bad pickup either.
So the Elic is interesting because the Elic represents extra bombs, and because they're on their tertiary deck.
Okay, I think you go for a Stormbringer. Honestly, you have to look at the Stormbringer as just a good card here.
He could wait a turn to Stormbringer.
Whew.
Maybe not. Because the Elic, you're still kind of worried about the Elic.
So your option is to Stormbringer now, or wait a turn and then Feral Spirit Stormbringer.
You could Feral Spirit Goblin Lock with Stormbringer, guarantee 3.
Oh no!
That is bad. That's like less stats on board than he had before he Stormbringered.
Quickly.
That is terrible. Now, however,
He shouldn't have done that if he knew the result, but obviously, how can you really know?
Khadgar, I
Acolyte.
believe, summons extra Feral Spirits.
Well,
But
if
it'll
he has a
die.
chance.
And he even gets to keep his Elic alive.
Yes.
Oh, that is...
Well, in this position, Nalguidan got to the finish line, and it looked like there was an opportunity with the Stormbringer.
And he's going to push the 3.
Yeah, this just hurts. It hurts so bad. Not over, but looking less likely for Nalguidan to be able to close it here.
Okay.
And Togwoggle is still some semblance.
And Cleave is going to get value here.
Yeah.
There are no bombs in the deck. However, there is a Wrench Caliber in hand.
And double pay. I the king.
I feel like this is a game where both players are just wincing back and forth.
They're both very expressive players.
Yeah.
You know, there's no beating around the bush. Nalguidan and Rase wear their emotions on their sleeves and on social media. They're very outspoken about kind of just, you know, how they feel about the game and how they feel about, like, the way that they prepped. Nalguidan could go for broke with a Wanderer's Wand, but if he doesn't pick up anything substantial, he just dies on board.
Swiftly.
Gotta cleave. Gotta cleave it up. Rase knows that that's a warrior card. Thinking, what could it be? Another win. I think he feels physical pain every time his minions die. His deck is one big happy family in his mind. All these cards are his beloved children. Wow, okay. Unpowered Steambot is the pickup. And Ray's gonna go ahead and set up for the almost guaranteed 2-turn lethal. Even get a damage hero power if his weapon gets removed. Shuffles bomb to the deck, gets kaboom. Nalguidan needs to heal and dodge this bomb. No choice but to Wondrous Wand. Okay, Life Drinker, Ziliax. What?
Okay.
And Ziliax keeps a Divine Shield because he's going to attack it with an unpowered Steambot. We got ourselves a game.
Precision. Perfection.
Life Drinker. Rase feels so close, yet pretty far.
I mean, he's got another Wrench Caliber. He can kaboom and Warpath.
Yeah.
Still push damage.
Now I'm
And
gonna have
stop
to
the
be
healing.
careful not to go too crazy here, but at the same time, if he doesn't like upgrade his Togwaggle, he's very vulnerable to a Warpath. And I think that's probably what's on his mind here. I like a Witchy Lackey on his Togwaggle. I think you obviously think about like the implications, but you already use both Shadow Steps, and you don't have Togwaggle Scheme in your hand.
Yeah. I mean, if he gets Varangidan, that's brutal, but...
Knowing his luck, it probably will be.
What?
How did you know?
What?
How did you know, TJ?
Oh my
How
goodness!
did you know? I don't even understand. Nalguidan can't believe it, but yet he totally believes it.
Oh my goodness.
Rase is speechless. Just like we are, TJ. And there's not enough Japanese idioms I can pull out of my hat to describe the situation. Nalguidan's at 1 life point remaining.
And he has 2 bombs in his deck after this Wrench Caliber swing. So a 6th of his deck. I don't see a way out. He's pretty much at a life gain.
Shark has to do some amazing stuff. Okay? And I was like, all right, I know I should keep playing this out. It just feels so painful to do so. He has to play Pharaoh Spears to stop the attack, and I think he should play the Evil Miscreant as well.
I mean, he's played both Hench Clan Burglars and both Blink Foxes.
There's spells that can help pull him out.
Like what?
I mean, okay, well the Serpent's really funny. That deals 2 damage every single turn. Ethereal Lackey, Witchy Lackey to help give lifesteal. I mean, it's a possibility. Togwaggle Scheme to offset this.
Okay. I think you gotta pick... Ooh. I guess he does have to deal with the Omega Devastator.
In his mind, yes. Rase, of course, has the Wrench Caliber Brawl like we're talking about. Just all possibilities. I mean, these are some decent options. Emphasis on decent.
So Rase has near guaranteed lethal unless Nalguidan plays Feral Spirit.
He's not going to play Pharaoh Spirits then. Ah. So then he just dies to the Wrench Caliber. Oh wait, he does play it. He plays 1 copy of a wolf.
All right, so it's almost guaranteed unless exactly the Feral Spirit survives and Nalguidan draws a bomb. Blastmaster Boom, there's 2 bombs left in the deck.
Okay,
I think that's less likely.
yes. Brawl here.
I mean, at this point, the way Nalguidan's game has gone, there's 0 chance that this Feral Spirit survives.
It almost survived! I don't understand. This game was dramatic from start to finish, and Rase is going to take the win crushing defeat. You got to feel for Nalguidan at the very end.
Yeah, a huge confidence boost yesterday after beating Saiyan and pulling himself out of last place. But man, this guy's been struggling all season long. Yeah, it has not been a great run for Nalguidan, but on the other hand, Rase, I think that's like his 4th match win in a row. I think he started the season 1-3.
And now he's no, I think he went 1-1 every week.
He went 1-1 every week, but now he has a 2-0 week, so he pulls himself into that 5-3 position, which is fantastic because he solidifies himself at the very least 3rd place at the end of this week and has the potential to tie for 2nd based on the results that happen later today.
Yep, and this is the first rematches of the season 2, and Rase once again taking down Nalguidan. Let's go ahead and chat with Rase real quick and check in with him. Rase, you there?
Hey guys, what's up?
Not much, man. So now you're 5-3, and you're climbing up the standings little by little, but you had to defeat Nalguidan again, which always stinks, I guess, but that's the nature of the competition. Talk to us about going to this match. How did you feel with the Warrior versus Rogue?
Yeah, like I feel favored for the first game, but then he tackled like double scheme. So like on the second game when he schemed Tog, it's pretty hard for me. And like my both ways to win is like race him or with Dr. Boom. But it's hard to out-value when he plays like double scheme. And oh my god, this last game was insane.
Yes, it was.
You know, TJ, right before he evolves into a Barongeddon's like, well, I hope he doesn't get Barongeddon. And then it happens. It was ridiculous.
I cursed him.
Yeah.
I cursed him. You're welcome.
Also, it seems like you have a big hole in your gameplay of not drawing Dr. Boom Mad Genius. What's up with that? I feel like you just didn't have all those important cards for the first 2 games. It was eluding you for a while.
Yeah, I was afraid that I wasn't going to draw Dr. Boom at the 3rd game because it was my only way to win after that 10-10 Van Cleef and that much pressure. But, oh, that game goes insane, and I'm glad that I won.
Gotcha. So for the one of the questions that I think we were asking ourselves was, I know that your tertiary deck was generally better against the Rogue. Was that what you put your tertiary deck to beat? Was it tech to try beat Rogue specifically?
Yeah. But like, because some Rogues don't tech that much, like Nalguidan for Warrior, and some Rogues still play Weapon on the side decks. So I wasn't sure because I wasn't play the I forgot the name, the Omega Assembly on my tertiary deck, and that was kind of a problem because at the first game the card helped me pretty much, but I have a lot of card draw, so I like let's try the tertiary because if I can pressure or draw Dr. Boom, I have a big chance.
Gotcha. Cool. I guess the last question here that I have is Nalguidan feels like he's been getting a lot of bad beats. And now that you're done playing against him, you know, do you have, like, what would be your first piece of advice to Nalguidan to help him? Because it feels like he's kind of lacking a little confidence these days because of some of the bad RNG or luck that comes his way sometimes.
Yeah, you need to keep trying. Like the week when I lost to Monsanto because I burned my Chirvala and got so tilted. Yeah, like when this thing happens, you may lose your confidence and things like that. But you need to keep trying, and maybe 1 or 2 wins in a row can bring his confidence back. So I will be like. Now I will practice with him again because we don't face each other, and we'll be cheer for him.
All right. So Rase gonna help out Nalguidan. Of course, never give up. That's a really important note to end on. Thank you very much, Rase. Congrats. You are firmly in a very positive win rate, 5-3 to end week
Finally
number 4.
at 2-0. Finally.
Yeah, there you go, buddy.
It's huge.
Yeah.
If you look at the standings, I mean, you might be in contention for 2nd place now in your division.
Yeah, that's my goal. Let's keep going.
All right. One step at a time. One at a time, TJ.
One at a time.
Is there a saying in the Brazilian community or in Portuguese that like expresses like take it one step at a time?
Yeah, probably it has, but I don't know. I don't
Probably.
remember.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we've been saying that a lot in different languages here, but thank you so much. Enough time. We've taken enough time of your day, Race. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and good luck next week.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, guys. Bye bye.
All right. He didn't feel like teaching us Portuguese and listening to us terrible
No.
American accents. Try it out.
I used to play a lot of online games that had massive Brazilian and Portuguese-speaking communities.
Yeah.
So I do know some Portuguese, but none of it I can repeat on broadcast because I learned
It's
it.
not appropriate for this type of audience.
I learned it from 13-year-old Brazilian kids in a gaming community. You can only imagine what kinds of things I know how to say in Portuguese.
All right. Well, that does it for our first match here, our first rematch of many. And we have a second rematch coming up. It's ETC versus Purple. It's going to be our featured match, and it's going to be the first Mage Gauntlet series that we have here coming up on the Hearthstone Grandmasters. So don't go anywhere. TJ and I will be back in just a few moments.